So today's the day we put it all together, the final section of chapter 14. The reason why we learn the law of cosines, the law of sines in the ambiguous case is so that we can find any missing side of a triangle and likewise find any missing angle of any triangle. So down below here we have our steps. And it's very important that we follow these steps when we are starting to solve missing side problems. Our first step is to always check, is it side-side angle? That's the worst case, because if it's side-side angle, we could have two possible triangles. So that means we have to find 6 sides and 6 angles, because there's 2 triangles. If it's not side-side angle, it's a pretty easy problem to do. Either law of cosines or law of sines is going to have to work. So my advice is always try law of sines. If you don't have enough information to do law of sines, then it's got to be law of cosines. They're the only 2 formulas you know. And if you choose law of cosines, always find the biggest angle first. Here's our first one. The Parks Department is laying out a nature trail through the woods so that it consists of 3 straight paths that form a triangle. Boom! Draw yourself a triangle. The lengths of 2 paths measure 1.2 miles and 1.3 miles. What must the measure of the angle to the nearest degree between these 2 sections of path in order that the total length of the nature trail be 4 miles? All right, well, first off, they're asking me to find this angle right here. They want the whole path to be 4 miles long, so I'm going to do a little bit of math here and figure out what that third side is. And that third side is 1.5. Alright, so now I'm charged with finding a missing angle. So I'm going to come down here, and I realize it's not side-side angle. Awesome. We have a side, side, side. So it's either law of sines or law of cosines. Well, here's my trick. I always try law of sines first. It's the easiest one. 1.5 is to the sine of x as 1.3 is to the sine of... Oh, I don't have an angle there. Since I have 2 unknowns, it can't be the law of sines. It has to be the law of cosines. And law of cosines says, find the biggest angle first. Hey, that's great here because the biggest angle happens to be across from the biggest side, and that's exactly what I'm trying to find here. Now it's just easy. 1.5 squared and cosine x go across from each other. Because they're across from each other in the problem, they're across from each other in the formula. Now I can put in my first side and my second side, and now I put in my first side and my second side. Okay, great. Now it's all math. And hopefully you've learned a shortcut. I know that when I go to solve this problem, these 2 are going to have to get moved over by subtraction. So I'm going to do all that on my calculator. 1.5 squared. Now I know the 1.2 squared is moved over, and the 1.3 squared is moved over. So that gets me negative 0.88 divided by... Now I know, since these are connected by multiplication to cosine x, I'm just going to divide by negative 2 times 1.2 times 1.3. Now, if you don't like all these shortcuts, you don't have to do them. And that's what I get for cosine x. Now I inverse cosine that answer, and my angle up there was 74 degrees. in triangle PQR, PQR, side Q is 12, angle R is 70, angle Q is 28, and they want me to find missing side R. Is it side-side angle? No, in fact it's angle, angle, side. Awesome, gone. Try either law of sines or law of cosines. Well, I'm going to try law of sines first. That's the easier one. 12 is to the sine of 28 as side R, that's what I'm looking for, is to the sine of 70. Great, I only have one unknown. Perfect, I can do this. And again, let's start doing our shortcuts. When we cross multiply here, we know we get 12 sine of 70 equals R sine of 28. So now, when I go on my calculator, I just know it's 12 sine of 70 divided by sine of 28. So R ends up being 24.019. Well, it didn't tell me where to round, so I'm going to round to the nearest whole. As long as I round correctly, I'm good. So obviously, this means my last problem is that ASS problem. And here it is. I have a triangle. Sides are 8, 10, angle is 20, and you see it's ASS. So the first thing I have to do is the ambiguous case. There could be two triangles here. How does the swinging side compare to the height? The swinging side is always across from the given angle, just like law of cosines. And then this is the way we find the height. So how does 8 compare to 10 sine of 20? 10 sine 20. 3.4. Rats. It's a greater sign. That means it's a greater pain in the butt to do. So now I have to compare how does the swinging side compare to the other side. It's less than. There are two triangles here. Darn it. All right, well, let's work with the obvious triangle, the fat one. Kind of looks like the same as my picture. Got this side is 8. Sorry, this side is 10. This is 20. All right, law of sines. 8 is to the sine of 20 as 10 is to the sine of I don't know what. I'm going to do all this math on my calculator. The sine of x is 10 sine of 20 divided by 8. 10 sine of 20 divided by 8. That's just what my sine is. I have to inverse sine that to get my answer. Inverse sine my answer, 25 degrees. So that angle is 25. Now, as soon as I get 25, I know there's another possible answer there because it swings. We're going to hold off on that. Let's just work with this triangle. All right, to find that third angle, not that hard. 180 minus 20 minus 25. That other angle is 135. I'm going to do law of sines again to find that last missing side. X is to the sine of 135 as, and you can pick any other ratio you want. I'm going to go again with 8 is to the sine of 20. So x is found by taking 8 sine of 135 when I cross multiply and dividing it by the sine of 20. Eight sine 135 divided by the sine of 20. All right, they didn't tell me again where to round, so I'm going to pick 16.5. Looks like a nice answer. Great, done with the first triangle. Yeah, we're not done. Now we have to do the skinny triangle. And it's not as bad as you think because you actually know most of the answers. We know this side is 10. We know this side is 8. We know this angle in here is 20. And we know this angle right here. Because we found out up above that 25 was a possible answer, we know that the supplement to 25 is this other answer down here. So 180 minus 25 equals 155. Hey, and that's not that bad, because now I can find this little third angle up in there. 20 and 150, 20 from here, 155 from here is 175. Wow, so that little angle up there is 5. I didn't have to use any trig really, except to find this last missing side here. We'll call it side y. Y is to the sine of 5 as, once again, 8 is to the sine of 20. Not that bad for a lot of extra work I had to do. Cross multiply, 8 times the sine of 5, and that's going to get divided by the sine of 20. And that missing side of y, we're going to say, is 2. So there you have it.